Welcome to our 2018 webinar events. My name is Josh and I'm going to be your presenter today. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. We're here to talk about giving accounts and donations and income accounts in accounting. This is kind of a unique topic today, but before we get started on that, a couple things, technical things. If you've never attended a Church Windows webinar event before, click the little red arrow on the sidebar of your control panel there. That minimizes the webinar control panel, gets it out of the way. If you've got this is particularly important if you have a single monitor. If you have a dual monitor setup, just drag that control panel off to the second desktop, gets it out of the way, get the full visual presentation here. We are recording this event today, so the video will be out on our support center here sometime in the next week or two. If you have questions for me, please type those in the questions portion of the webinar. We do keep everybody muted. It'd be impossible to hear me if we did have everybody unmuted. So again, type in those questions in the questions portion. I will try to keep an eye on them. And definitely if I don't get to them during the webinar event, I will be happy to get those answered at the end. Please, I do ask that you do keep the questions topical, basically about our income accounts or donations, givings accounts, basically our topic at hand. I'm happy to try to I'm happy to talk with you about through a support call and any other questions you have, or any of our technicians are, or you may be able to find that there's another webinar event that we have scheduled that may be more suited to the question you have. Giving accounts and income accounts. So why this is a unique topic. It's not from a workbook per se, and this kind of thing occurs in the first couple of months after the month of January. We don't have webinars in the month of January because our call volume is so heavy and so extensive. But what it does offer is an opportunity for us as support technicians and the software company that produces Church Windows to perhaps keep an ear out, or to be able to talk about topics that we're hearing a lot of from our customers in our heaviest or busiest month of the year. So this is definitely a topic that falls into that category. Is in January we were getting a lot of calls from folks saying, "Hey, when I set up my income account in accounting, is that setting up my giving account in donations, or vice versa? When I set up the giving account in donations, is it adding the accounts in necessary accounts in accounting?" And the simple answer to that question is no. They are two completely separate databases. Donations here, let me introduce my highlighter friend here. So we've got our donations module, right here. And we've got our accounting module, which is a completely separate database right here. And those two talk to one another, but adding an account in one does not automatically add a similar or same account in the other module, okay? And so we just got enough questions about that, that we felt that it warranted a webinar on this. And so, we do have in our workbooks, the workbooks that you can purchase online. Even in our videos, we talk a lot about adding giving accounts. We talk a lot about adding income accounts, and we even talk about linking them together. But we've never really had a topic that talks about how they're two separate databases, and that they are basically two separate things, and they need to be set up in order to completely set that up. You may have to set up, when you set up an income account, if people are giving to that particular income, Church Windows doesn't set up the giving account. You have to add both and then link the two together, and that's what we're going to cover here today, okay? So, the assumption in here when we're going to start in accounting, and there's a reason why I'm starting in accounting with regards to this. Technically, where you start doesn't matter as long as you add them in both modules. It just could save you time if you start in accounting, as I'm demonstrating or starting here. So an example, as I was trying to come up with this particular topic or formulate this and kind of put everything down, I was thinking, well, what would be a good example of, something that maybe the church is deciding mid-year to take on that maybe they haven't had before. So, and as I was looking at our chart of accounts here, when I was looking at, looking down our list here, I was going, okay, we've got a mortgage. So the church is deciding that they're going to be able to try to ask members and visitors to be able to help pay down the mortgage. So they're going to want to set up a they're going to be wanting to set up something that's going to ask, and we're going to be able to record giving that's going to be able to allow people to contribute to the reduction of the church's mortgage. So, we've got our mortgage payable over here. That's the one where when we show the balance, shows our principal balance on our mortgage. And we're now asking people to give to that to help pay that down. Okay? So we don't have in our chart of accounts a mortgage reduction income account. Okay? We have a mortgage payable, we have a mortgage interest expense, and a principal expense, but no income account for that. Okay? I could go so far as to set up a completely separate fund for that, but our church doesn't want to do that. Why? Because generally when we receive that income that's going to be paying down that mortgage, we're going to be turning around and paying that out pretty much right away. We want to get that principal paid down as quickly as possible. So at this point, we are simply going to set up a new income account for that mortgage reduction, okay? And it is going to mean we're going to have to set up a giving account in donations to be able to correspond with that and to link to that. So we're going to add it in. There's multiple ways we can add accounts, of course, folks, to the chart of accounts throughout the year. But in this case, this is the one that I most commonly will walk folks through because it's the most detailed and separated and allows us for the greatest amount of accuracy in terms we do it. So we're going to go to mortgage manage accounts at the top left. Just below that, in the upper left, we're going to click accounts plus minus. Let me get my highlighter out here and again show you where I'm talking about. Manage accounts up here, and then just below that, the accounts plus minus. Let me draw an arrow. Not too badly drawn. So that's where we're going, okay? So we click on accounts plus minus, and then the buttons across there change there, and we're going to go right across here to income, okay? So first thing it asks us is, when it opens this, is main income accounts for. And the first thing it shows is current fund, and in this case it's choosing our general operating fund. That is going to be the fund to which our new income account is linked, because that's where our mortgage interest and principal expenses are linked. So we're going to just link that. It's all going into the same fund that the expenses are linked to as well. If yours wasn't linked to the general fund, then we could choose a different fund from the list, okay? But in this case, the general fund is the perfect fund. So now here's our current accounts that are linked to our income, to our general fund. So we're going to scroll down and we're just going to take a stab at picking a number here. So we're going to call it mortgage reduction giving or income. And then when I tab down to the income account, it automatically enters a number 4 as our leading digit. So we're going to try maybe, how about 4 through 30. No, we're going to try 410, 900. And we're going to leave this as part of general fund income. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave it as part of general fund income and click add account. And it did. It didn't didn't pop up and put a little or a little flash and red dot next to our account number, implying that it was an account number that was already in use. So that's added that account, and we've put it into our chart of accounts and with the respective income account. Okay, so we've taken care of step 1. Okay, so we've added the new income account into accounting. So now we're going to close out of accounting, and we're going to jump over to our donations module. So when we now click under donations, again, it looks very similar to accounting, and I understand how folks can get confused about this because accounting and donations main portals really resemble one another a lot. And so, I can certainly understand the confusion. And so when we go to manage accounts, I can certainly see how folks go, oh, well, this must be my chart of accounts in accounting. Not so. So when we now click under manage accounts here, this opens up our giving accounts list. Okay? And notice our account IDs on the left side are very different from our account numbers in accounting. Remember, we had 6 digits in those account numbers. This only has 3. Why? Because they're different accounts. They're not the same. They link together, but they're not the same. And this is really probably one of the most important things that I want folks to get here today, is that I have had folks who have set up their giving accounts in donations with virtually the same exact numbers that they have in their accounts in accounting. And again, still doesn't link the two accounts together. In fact, I strongly encourage you and discourage you from setting up the ID numbers here as the accounts in your accounts in accounting. Why, you ask? Because I want you to know when you're looking at a giving account in donations versus an accounting account in accounting. It's that simple. And so if they're the same exact number here versus there, how do I know when I'm looking at which? It just makes it there's a lot less clarity in terms of when you're looking at an account in donations versus when you're looking at it in accounting. So I strongly encourage you to leave, make it a 1 or a 2 or a 3 digit number, or a 3 or 4 digit number in donations, much like we're seeing here. And so again, we know when we're looking at an account in one database versus the other. So notice here, we scroll down our list of giving accounts, and we don't have one for mortgage reduction here. So we notice here in this list, there's nothing in here that points to mortgage reduction. So we are now going to add one. And so we're going to call this one 800. So we're going to click Add here at the top. We're going to number this one 800, and we're going to call this Mortgage Reduction Giving. And we're going to click Add Giving Account. Boom. Closing out of our Add Giving Account, there's our new Mortgage Reduction Giving account. Okay? Definitely on the right-hand side, we're going to have it so it shows to print on people's statement. It's giving to the church. It's a specific purpose. There's nothing about this that occurs as not being anything other than fully tax deductible. And we do want it to show on their statement. So we're going to leave all of those things checked just like we would normally. Okay? So I've added the giving account in donations. I've added the accounting accounts in accounting. We're not opening up a special bank account for this account or this money. We're just going to deposit it to our regular checking account, and we're going to credit it to our income account in accounting. So there's a couple ways I can do that. I can now click on mortgage reduction, and I can click on accounting links, and I can choose it here. Okay? Either way, it's the same screen or same options wherever you choose to do it. But the other option, and it's just because I like to have folks look at this window periodically, is when we go to donations and transfer to accounting, and we click on the tab here called default account links. Okay, so we notice here, let me maybe make this screen a little bit larger, is when we now look at this, we see our general fund, these are our giving accounts on the left-hand side. Let me again get some highlighter here to draw some focus. Giving accounts, debit account, credit account. Okay, here's where the line is drawn. So our giving accounts are listed here on the left-hand side. Okay, so now when we scroll down and we find 800, we clearly see there is no debit and no credit account. Okay, so right here, these are blank. If I have giving posted to that and I have a batch, it's not going to let me complete the transfer over to accounting until I complete these. Okay? So now, when I click in, say, my debit account column, gives me the drop-down menu. Here I would choose the bank account or the cash account where the money is being deposited each week. So it's just going to go right into our main checking account. And over here, under our credit account, we're going to type in mortgage, and boom, there you go. You see the 410-900, the mortgage reduction income account. Okay? And so we've now set up this particular giving account, linked it to the appropriate debit and credit accounts, and that now is completely ready for me to post and receive giving and transfer it over into accounting where I want it to go. But I had to make sure that I set up all of the appropriate accounts in both the donations module and the accounting module. Okay? Church Windows setting them up in one doesn't set it up in the other automatically. Okay? So that's really the crux of what we're looking at. Yes, 9 times out of 10, we're going to be linking our credit accounts to credit side on our donations giving accounts to an income account. But you don't have to. We notice here we've got a crop walk liability or disaster relief. You don't have to have it a for account. It could be a liability. It could be an expense account. Okay? You decide. Okay? So yeah, now I can go into enter donations, record giving from my members and visitors to be applied to the reduction of the church's mortgage. It now knows the flow of money is complete. It shows up on their statements. It knows what accounts to debit and credit in accounting, and now I can just go into my general fund and pay that out on an as-need basis from my general fund using probably my mortgage principal expense account, and to get that out of that fund. Okay? So that's it, folks. I mean, that's the topic that I'm talking about. It looks like we've got a number of questions here. But it's really important to understand that giving accounts and donations do not tie in any way directly to accounting until I tell it that that's how it occurs. Okay? So, if you've got folks giving to a particular project that's new, you're probably going to be setting up accounts in 2 modules when you're wanting to set that up and transfer that over. Okay? All right, so let's see what questions we've got here. Whoa, okay. In donations, we utilize a large number of accounts to make sure the gifts are used as a donor's desire. 1, when the accounts are no longer used, I cannot delete the account. I get the message. That's true, Paul. The most we can do at this point until our developers write such a feature into the software is when an account's no longer used, you can come in here, choose the particular account, and on the right-hand side, check the box labeled inactive. That is the most we can do if there's giving posted to that. There's an audit history that the software is hanging on to, and until we write something into the software that allows it to not only delete that giving account, but any giving that's associated with it, inactivating is the only option you have. 2, when reassigning an account number to a new use, we change the account status to active, but then we have difficult time finding then the reused account number. Okay, I'm not sure I'm understanding this question, but I think I'm understanding that basically ID numbers are not required to post giving or for the giving accounts. The account name is. So this is oftentimes a surprise for folks when I show them this, is that if I go, okay, I've got my end the year in the black here, giving account 200, I can remove the ID of 200. Okay, it won't allow me to remove the giving account because it has giving posted to it. I can now go up to inactive. I can check that, but now I can go into add my giving accounts, and I can reassign 200 to another giving account if I wish. It does not affect or change any of the giving that I've posted historically to end the year in the black. Okay. Once I refresh my accounts, though, it should remove end the year in the black because I thought I'd inactivated that. I thought it did. All right. Yeah, it's inactive. So I'd close out of there, go back into manage accounts, and the year in the black is no longer there unless I check to show inactive accounts. Good questions. Tom's asking, would this same process be used to handle future giving, e.g. paying a 2018 pledge in 2017? Well, that's a little bit different, Tom, because that would require setting up a prepaid credit account, which, yes, of course, we do have that in here. But, yes, you need to make sure that you've got the appropriate liability accounts set up in your chart of accounts here in accounting to receive that. So as we notice here under our default account links, we've got a prepaid pledges credit liability over there. I'm going to refer you to a document on our website about that for how to handle prepaid pledges. That's definitely a popular question, but we have a lot of documentation on our support center about that. Do the new tax laws mean that all giving isn't tax deductible, and how do we show that on the statement? Oh boy, Judy, I'm not sure how to answer that question. I'm not a qualified tax person. I just know that if we determine at some point that a giving account is not considered tax deductible, we would simply come in here, and if it was determined that, giving for mortgage reduction wasn't tax deductible, I would simply come in here and uncheck giving is tax deductible. It then puts it into the section that is considered non-tax deductible giving. But none of our technicians are able to tell you what is considered deductible or not. I'm sorry. You'll have to find out from somebody who is qualified to answer that. Good question, though. My question is concerning when a member may be paying for the use of the facility. Would this entry be put in donations under the giver or entered in accounting? Well, that's a good question, Carrie. You have a lot of flexibility for how that can occur. You certainly may. I have seen churches that set up a giving account called, facility rent. And it, again, to me, that would not be considered deductible, tax deductible, I believe. It's again for, you're receiving something in exchange for the gift to the church for use of the space. So most likely that probably wouldn't be considered tax deductible. But probably for me personally, that would be something I would record directly in accounting and probably wouldn't record through donations. Good question. Can you change this now if it was set up as a fund with giving linked to it? I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, Janice, but sure, of course, you can add new giving accounts and new income accounts at any point throughout the year. You could even go back and change that. I'm not sure I wouldn't change it for 2017, but definitely at this point in the year, I think you're at a point in 2018 where you still have the freedom to go back and make changes without, for 2018 without creating a whole bunch of work for yourself. If you have questions, call support about that. We're happy to walk through it with you. Chart of accounts question. A lot of our chart of accounts numbers are currently not associated with the correct description. What is the best practice to remove the account numbers around, to move the account numbers around without affecting balances that are currently in the various line items? Oh boy, Charlene, I'm sorry. There's a whole lot that's asked in that question. That's a question that I'm frankly going to refer you to support about. You do have the ability to renumber your chart of accounts. You can change the linking of where your giving accounts occur at any point. You can change where income and accounts are linked in terms of their funds. That's going to require a support call. I'm sorry. If you're on support with us and you can call us, that's probably something we need more information about that from you, about your setup. I don't want to answer, not that I don't want to answer it for you. We just need more information. Okay. So again, folks, if I didn't answer any of these questions adequately enough for you and you have questions about it, please call support. Our technicians, myself included, are happy to help out. I hope the event was helpful today in terms of, distinguishing the difference between a giving account and an income account and how the two are required and to be linked together for that. I don't see any other questions coming in. We've gone a little long here. Oh, you're welcome, Barb. Thank you. I'm glad. That's the purpose. Yes, if we hope to see this, we'll see this event on our website here on the Support Center sometime in the next week or two. Please check out the webinar events page, the free webinar, online webinars page of our website for the current list of events. We're working on the March events now, and we look forward to seeing you at another Church Windows webinar event. All right. Thank you all so much. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.